more of a colleague than a friend, I'd say. But I have to say nice things about him because I've been staying at his house, and if I say nice things, he might give me a discounted rate, which is quite expensive at Castle Brown. And Castle Brown it is. Swimming pool, 5 bedrooms, train track on the back, it's a steam train, and a couple of Range Rovers on the driveway, so he's not had a bad career. But yeah, he's announcing his retirement. I reckon he had a couple of years left in him. I saw him play for the A-League last night, 50-metre running, a couple of charges. I mean, there were a couple of young kids, but in all seriousness, he's had a fantastic career. 64 caps for Scotland. I had 63. Yeah, he captained Scotland, and I think if you were to ask him, he'd probably say that that was his proudest moment. You know, even though he has no Scottish blood, he was born in Scotland, and it's something that he's very passionate about. But in all seriousness, what an unbelievable career, as well as being a very close friend of mine. He's a guy that I've always looked up to, you know, in the face of adversity, and I don't mean with his stammer and stuff like that, I mean coming back from injuries, probably not being the biggest back row you've ever seen grace the field, but I think he embodies work rate, you know, respect and discipline, all these values that you see thrown around in rugby circles, you know, on our stadium, in different stadiums across the world. The rugby values in which are so dear to the game, I think, is something that Kelly Brown, the rugby player, the person, has epitomised for all of his career, hence why, you know, he's still running around at 34, 35 and doing what he's doing. So he's going to be a huge loss to the game in terms of on the pitch, but he's going into that academy role now, and there's probably no better man in world rugby to go into a role of trying to develop the next generation of players. So he's had a pretty special career.
He's obviously been involved in all the Saracens' recent successes, and you can tell off the field as well that the guys hold him in high regard. Could you sort of give us an idea of how, you know, how highly people regard Kelly at this club?
Well, I think hugely. I think that anyone that has been at a club for as long as he has and has had the success, you've got to remember he came to the club in the kind of earlier stages where they were developing the culture, so he's a massive part of that, you know, the backbone of that going forward. Like you mentioned, the championships that he's won, he won the first premiership with Saracens. He was involved in the double last year and the premiership the year before, and he's played a huge part this year, in which was meant to be a transition period for him. So, you know, firstly, physically, he's been able to do that for years at such a high level, playing premiership. But mentally in this transition year as well, you know, doing the coaching stuff on the side, and also playing as much as he has done. But I think the fact that the Saracens are making sure that they're putting him into an academy role here just shows in what regard he's held in, and rightly so. I think that all the way from the coaches, from the CEO, from Nigel Ray at the club, all the way down to the guys that he's working with at 15, 16 years old, it's the respect. I mentioned it earlier. It's the way in which he plays, the way in which he's trained. His professionalism is second to none, and that's why he's held in such regard, and he will do going forward.